Hi, this is Tidra. It's Tuesday, nope, it's not February, it's March 6th, I believe. And today what I'm going to try and show you is I'm going to put together one of the cards from the club packet that my Close to My Heart consultant, Sue Schmid, puts together that my mother and I work on Mondays. I'll be posting a photo on my Tumblr page of the 2-page spread that goes with the kit for this month, and this is going to be putting together one of the 2 cards that's in the kit. Okay, so what comes in the kit is it comes with all the little embellishments that we're going to use for the card. We've got some chocolate waxy flax, which is, it's a string that's a little bit stiffer because it's got some wax to it, so it makes it easy to thread things with. And this is the chocolate color. We have a button. This is a tulip button. It's from the Close to My Heart products. We have 3 tiny brads. I don't know if you can really see that very well. But these are the brads. We're going to use those as embellishments. And then when I get the kit from Sue, it already has the paper cut for me. So we've got a normal sized, this is a standard sized cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so this will be the card base. And then she's already cut the papers for us. Okay, so we've got, I believe this is from, I think it's the Stella paper pack. This is some of the coordinating patterned paper, and this is some cardstock. The colors in this are, it's a lagoon green, and this is a sunset orange. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set these aside because I think it'll be easier if we do the stamping first so that we can move that out of the way. So for this particular card, we're going to take this small piece of cardstock and we're going to stamp a flower image on it and then cut it out. Okay, we're using this stamp set, which as you can see has this outline of a flower, and then it has some different type petals that you can use in it. And we're going to take this little foam piece and put it underneath the paper that we're going to stamp on. The foam piece helps the ink give you a nice full coverage of it. It's a cushion and it makes the stamp come out clearer. Okay, we're going to stamp the main image, which is the outline of the flower, which I've put on an acrylic block. We're going to do that I'm going to do it in cocoa ink. This is what the ink pads look like. You can see on the end there it tells you the name of the color and what the color looks like. This is a brown color, which is good for kind of outlining things and for a neutral kind of color. Okay, so we've got the stamp on the block, and we're going to take it and we're going to ink it up just by kind of patting it down here. And because the block is see-through, you can see whether or not you've got good coverage of the ink. Okay, so we are going to take this and just center it on that piece of paper and push down kind of evenly. And we're going to pick it up, and then we have our outline of the flower. And we're going to set that block aside. And that's really the only thing I'm going to use the cocoa ink for. So I'm going to close that up and I'll show you what the case actually looks like when it's closed up. These are what the cases look like. The background is the color of the ink in it. It's the same as on the label on the end. Okay, and they close this way so that the ink pad is kind of hanging suspended, so the ink stays at the outer part of the ink pad so that it inks up easier. Put that aside. Okay, and what we're going to do for the petals is we're going to use all three of the different images that come with this stamp set. We're going to use all three of them. We're going to do, because there's 6 petals, we're going to do 2 of each. We're going to use 3 different colors. Okay. For this petal, we're going to use the Lagoon color, which is a greeny blue. And we're just, notice that this acrylic block is a much smaller block. What you try and do is use a block that's appropriate for the size of the stamp so that you don't end up with a lot of extra ink on the block when you ink it, and that kind of eliminates getting too much extra ink or extra ink where you want it, where you don't want it on your image. Okay, and also because this is see-through, I can look down in and see the outline. So we're going to push that down and pull it up. And I'm going to do the next petal for this color on the opposite side of where I did that one. So we're going to do this one over here. Okay. And that's the Lagoon petals. Close that up so they don't dry out. Okay, the next color we're going to use is Sunset, which is kind of an orangey color. I'm going to take one of the other images, petal images, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink it up and put it in the space, ink it up again, and do the opposite corner, or opposite side, I guess. It's not really a corner. Okay. And what we're doing now is we're just making the kind of main embellishment for the card. Close that ink pad. And then the last petal that we're going to use, we're going to do in this tulip color, which is it's a reddish pinky color. We're going to use the last petal shape for that. So we just tap, tap, tap to ink up the block. Let's see how you ink up the block. And then we put it on our image. And it doesn't have to be exact. Nobody's, because it's handmade, they're all going to be just slightly different, where they're placed, that sort of thing. And that's okay. That way you know it's handmade. Okay. So now we've got our flower. And we're going to cut that out really quickly. Let's see, I'm just cutting around the outside of the image. Giving it just a little bit of a border, so I'm not cutting right on that dotted line. I'm cutting kind of right outside the dotted line. Okay. Okay, we don't need that foam sheet anymore, so we're gonna, that goes right in the kit with the stamp set, so that you've always got it. It goes right inside the envelope where the stamp set is stored. Okay, now the last part of this flower is going to be the center of the flower, which is what we're going to use the button for. And we're going to take this chocolate waxy flax, and we're just going to thread it through the button just as an extra decorative touch. And I go down through the top and up through. And notice I haven't cut it yet, because it's a lot easier to tie when there's more string or more waxy flax to hold on to. So I'm just tying that just in a regular little knot. And then I've cut the edges. And it holds, part of the reason it holds so well is because it's the waxy flax and not in an embroidery floss. So you see you just have a little piece of waxy flax there in the button. Okay, to hold this waxy flax, or not waxy flax, but this button to the center of the flower, I'm going to use what we call a glue dot. This particular glue dot comes on a little piece of clear plastic. You pull apart, and you can see the little sticky dot right here. And what we do is we put that on the back of the button. And this is a medium-sized dot, and since this button's a little bit bigger, I usually will put 2 medium dots on a button this size, just so it holds really well. So we'll take the other one and put it on the other side there, so we get kind of good coverage of the sticky stuff on the back of that button. Let me just peel the paper off. Can you see the kind of shiny part there that's the sticky stuff? And we're just going to stick that right in the middle of the flower to be the center of the flower. So that's our main embellishment for this card, is this flower. Okay. Then the card itself, okay, I do need to do one more stamp now that I think about it. I'm going to use this block again. I'm going to use this block. I'm going to take this little stamp that just says a note for you, and I'm going to put it on this block. I really probably should use a slightly bigger block, but this one will make do since I don't have the other ones with me here. And I'm going to put it underneath this paper right here, because I'm just going to put in chocolate ink a note for you on this little strip of paper. And I'm going to use the chocolate because that's that nice neutral color. So it's a nice brown color. So you open those just by putting your finger through here, lifting up, turning it around, and placing it down. And we ink it up the same as we inked up earlier. Okay. And then I'm just going to put this a note for you. I'm going to do it about halfway across this little strip of paper. I'm going to say right about there. There we go. Close that up. Move that to the side. Okay, now we really are done with that. Okay, no, Caesar, you got to get down, baby. Okay. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is for this piece of paper, we're going to tear off just a tiny edge. Let me get an idea about how this is going to lay down on this card. See how much I need to tear. Yeah, we're just going to tear a little bit off the edge here. And all this does is it kind of gives, because these papers have a nice white core to them, when you tear, it gives you this kind of nice decorative edge. And a lot of places sell these fancy tools that you can use to tear your paper, but there's no reason in the world why you can't just tear it yourself. Okay, so we're just going to do a tear along there. You see how it gives us a nice white edge there to that paper. So that's trash. We're going to put that aside. Okay, now a note for you is going to go on this piece of paper about 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom. Now normally a lot of people would put these base papers on the card first, And I would too, except that we're going to be using brads. And when I use brads, I don't like the brad, if at all possible, I don't like it to show through the bottom of the card, because then it's less likely that someone's going to catch their finger on it or that sort of thing. So if there's any kind of layering to the card, like there is in this case, I like to go ahead and put my brad through this layer before I attach it to the card base. So I'm going to first attach this a note for you on this page to here. And what we use is, I just use a Tomboy adhesive runner, which has a little guard on it so it doesn't get stuff all over it. Okay, we're just going to run it along the back here, and that's just going to put some adhesive on the back so it will stick. And we're just going to lay that, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of there. Okay, and now I'm going to put my brads in before I attach it to the other. Okay, and what we use to do that is we have this little foam pad, and we put our paper on the foam pad, and this is just so we don't damage the surface underneath when we use our piercing tool. Okay, now I've got 3 little brads, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them along here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first hole kind of in the middle of the paper, and in the middle between the 3 dots of the stamp and the end of this piece. So we're going to put one there, and then about halfway between there and the edge of the paper, and then the same distance on the other side. And see, all I did there was I created 3 little holes in the paper. Okay, now I take each little brad, don't need that anymore, and I put it through the hole. And then the 3rd one. Okay, then you turn it over and you separate the 2 sides of the brad. It's a little dark in here, so couldn't really see what I was doing there. I'm not sure you can either. But you see the side of the brad, you pull the edges apart like that, so they're separated. So you just pull them apart, and that holds it to the paper. Now, a little trick to make it lie flat is if you take your piercing tool with its end and you just kind of push down on the top of it, it will help that brad lay flatter. Okay, so now you have a note for you and your 3 little brads. Okay, now we're ready to kind of put the card itself together. First thing we're going to do is we're going to attach this strip of sunset to the top. We'll use the same adhesive that we used a minute ago. And it doesn't take a whole lot. You can kind of put as much or as little as you want. Just enough to make sure it's kind of going to stay. Okay, and we're going to line that up with the top of the card. So just along the top and even on the sides, and push down. Okay, then we're going to put this piece on, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put the adhesive on it. Just kind of work around those brads. Okay. Then that goes even with the bottom of the card. And push down. Okay, so now you've got a card that says a note for you. And now we're going to put our embellishment up here in the corner, and we do that with the same adhesive. Now you can do that with the same adhesive, or if you prefer to do it with a glue dot, you can do it with a glue dot. You really can kind of use whatever adhesive you want on that. And we're going to put that just right there. And that is the card. See if I can set it up kind of like that. And that's one of the 2 cards in this month's project from Sue Schmidt. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to breathe. Have a nice day. Bye.